Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And all glories to the Sankirtan movement that he inaugurated himself in the Western world in 1965. That's some time ago. And lots of things have gone on since then, I can say that. Some good, some bad. But the fact of the matter is, the truth sustains all difficulty. It never becomes destroyed by any outside force. Prabhupada used to say, Ram Raghava, that the movement would be destroyed from within, not without. From within. Just like the tree. The wood for the axe comes from the tree. So you chop the tree down with the wood from the tree. So it's destroyed within, not without. And this has happened in the ISKCON group, that it's been destroyed by its own membership, not by others. And this is unfortunate. And our mission is to protect Prabhupada's legacy. Let me see if I can fix my camera. Hold on. So much details here. Minor. There we go. Minor details. So the Sankirtan movement carries on. And we have so many successful programs that we are introducing for everyone to participate in. Yes. And I think some of you are aware of them. And we'll announce them as we progress along in our work to serve Srila Prabhupada and draw the attention of Krishna. Prabhupada said this very simply. It's a very interesting observation. Do not try to see Krishna, but act in such a way that Krishna will take notice of you. So, what is the best way to get Krishna's attention? Simple logic. The simple logic of it is to serve his pure devotee without any personal motive. The only motive is to somehow or other establish Srila Prabhupada as the bona fide guru, the representative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the representative of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami in his Vani incarnation. This is the whole point. And you know that, Ram Raghava, that some people say, oh, you group, you're fault finders. Well, what is our fault? Did I say something that was wrong? Even now in this opening monologue, did I say something that was offensive? That I stressed the idea or the understanding, not even the idea, the understanding that Prabhupada lives in his sound incarnation called the Vani incarnation. Oh, but you're fault finders. No, we're fact finders. Yes, we are. And we're working on presenting this philosophical point to people throughout the world in our upcoming publications and our upcoming programs that we are working on. Yes. And it's very enlivening, I must say. And it's most important that everybody that's a member of this organization understands our mission. Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, you'll misunderstand our purpose. I sent an interesting video of this MMA fighter from Dagestan to a few of us. And he said his most important feature of his membership is loyalty. Loyalty. I understand that completely. You have to be loyal to the people you work with, because that internal defect will destroy everything. It doesn't really destroy. Once you have in franchising, Mother Rochisha, it's called critical mass. Have you ever heard that before? Critical mass? Okay, I'll explain it briefly. In a franchise system, what you do is you duplicate the different franchisees. So you get, say you have a Subway or a juice bar. We had a juice bar. So we were trying to expand the juice bar. We had a brilliant juice bar with a few of my godbrothers. And we were trying to get to critical mass. Critical mass means you get to, they say the number is Ram Raghava 10. You have to get to, nowadays it could be 15. You can't hear Yaśodā. You try to get to 15 outlets. And then this way you can self-sustain your franchise system. It's called critical mass. Until you get to that point, you don't have the cash flow to develop the franchise system. So with our group in the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we've reached a certain level of critical mass where we have people all over the world that are participating with us. Just in the last week or so, we have 7 new members. 7. And they're really loyal members because people come and go. We see that. I call it the International Society of Opinion. Everybody will come, they'll have an opinion, and they may go because their opinion doesn't agree with our position that Prabhupada is living in sound in his books, his lectures, his letters. And Ram Raghava, it's most important to remember this, not for you specifically, but for all of us, that everything that the spiritual master says is Shastra. Now, someone could say, well, that's a pretty extreme statement. Well, it's not an extreme statement. It's a fact that Prabhupada explains it in one of his lectures, Rupa Goswami, that everything that the representative of God speaks is Shastra. It is not just opinion. Everybody has an opinion. The International Society of Opinionators. Guru never speaks opinion. He speaks facts. And his representatives, they speak fact too. Now, Prabhupada, this is another lecture Ram Raghava I was listening to. Prabhupada said, where is the authority of a person who decides that they will change the Bhagavad Gita and the words of the Guru? Where is their authority? A third-class man, a neophyte devotee says, oh, well, Prabhupada's words have to be changed. when Prabhupada ordered us, do not change anything. He says, I've traveled all over the world, and people, they say, you've performed miracles. Do you hear that lecture, Ram Raghava? Have you heard that one? Prabhupada says that. He says, oh, you've performed so many miracles. And Prabhupada goes, miracle? I do not know miracle. There are many miracles. He's just like that. He said, the only miracle that I've done is I have not changed anything. And people are criticizing us. Oh, Vishwakarma, you're so radical. I repeat exactly the words of our guru without any change, and people are criticizing. Why? Because they're neophyte. Neophyte will always criticize. Why? Because they're beginners. They don't know. They have no intelligence, developed intelligence. They have no experience. They have no success. I sent that picture to you, Ram Raghava. Did you see it? Of Toronto. Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasa-san. Look at that picture. There he is. And Prabhupada sent me a letter. He goes, the purchase of this building is a topmost triumph for Krishna. Topmost. Interesting. Of course, Prabhupada was very kind for all of us. And he always wanted to encourage us. But at the same time, the words of a spiritual master should never be minimized. And those that minimize, they're in jeopardy. And people are constantly criticizing. People that are working towards protecting Prabhupada's legacy. And for them, okay, that's their business and they're entitled to that. That's fine. And we'll carry on in our mission. Now, let's move forward here. As you know, I'm reading forward in our books. In fact, I enjoy it very much. So much. All these books I keep mentioning as we progress by the week, by the month, by the year through our sadhana program. And I'm reading the Krishna book. And it's quite engaging, I must say. I was reluctant to start the reading because I thought, gee, it's all reading. This is a big job. But as you start reading in, you start to get some momentum. You know, you think, this is quite interesting. And I read something that I read to Joe Felice today. Actually, I had a conversation with my friend here in Hamilton. And I thought I would read it tonight. I told him I'll read it because it's so important for us to understand the messages that Prabhupada gives us, these jewels. These are jewels of information to help us journey through time and be successful in fulfilling the purpose of life and not be confused by all kinds of mental speculation, mental confusion, and circumstances which will attack us day after day. They always attack us, say Krishna Kata. The material world is always trying to put us down. So I thought I'd read this to you. And this is on page 41 of the Krishna book. And it's the meeting of Nanda and Yasoda, and Vasudeva continued, my dear friend, it is very difficult for us to live together. Although we have our family and relatives, sons and daughters, by nature's way we are generally separated from one another. The reason for this is that every living entity appears on this earth under different pressures of fruitive activities. So articulate, eh? And so logical. People have to work. And that work separates them from each other, especially when your kids grow up. Like all my children, they're all over the world. My one daughter's in Australia. My other daughter, she's the Crown Attorney in Toronto. My son works he's all over the world. Due to fruitive activity, you have to make money and you're separated. Although they assemble together, there is no certainty of their remaining together for a long time. How true, eh? People come and go in our lives, just like people come and go in our group. Whatever happened to him? Whatever happened to him? Whatever happened to her? I don't know. They come and go depending on their circumstances. But those who are loyal, we're looking for loyalty, who stay steady, they will, as a group, become strong because it's like binding wood together. When you bind bamboo together, it becomes a weapon. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that are with us, not against us. According to one's fruitive activities, one has to act differently and thereby be separated. For example, many plants and creepers are floating on the waves of the ocean. Sometimes they come together, and sometimes they separate forever. Just see. Krishna Kata, just see. How many people joined Prabhupada's mission? Over 4,700 people. And how many people are still on the mission after 55 years? Count them. Can you count them on your hands and toes? Oh, maybe there's more. But I'm not sure how many. One plant goes one way and another plant goes another. Similarly, our family assembly may be very nice while we are living together, but after some time, in the course of the waves of time, we are separated. And I experienced that in Mexico. I wake up every day, I think of Gopal in Mexico. I'm going down there in May for a program for him organized by his sister. And we're separated, tragically, in a way. Although he was blessed, he had Ganges water, he got the dust of Vrindavan, he had the holy names, chanted with him, gave him prasadam, and on, worked together to try to liberate him in those critical moments where he was at the end of his life in this particular journey. Yes. And that's what we're preparing for. I won't discuss it right now, maybe later. I wanted to go to one last section on page 42, where Prabhupada points out thank you. The animals, especially the cows, were protected exactly in the manner of one's children. And I talked about that the other day, how they're killing the animals without any remorse. And they're opening up all these fast food restaurants and killing people, especially in America, where everybody, this is what the Kennedy Fellow's talking about, how unhealthy people are because their diets are sabotaging them at the dinner table every day of their life. So it's education. People need to be educated on what to eat and what not to eat. And the first thing Prabhupada told us, and Christ told us, thou shalt not kill, but yet people kill and eat animals. Vasudeva was a Kshatriya, and Nanda Maharaj was a Vaishya. It is the duty of the Kshatriya, Mr. Trump, to give protection to the citizens of mankind, and it is the duty of the Vaishya to give protection to the cows. The cows are important as the citizens, just as the human citizens should be given all kinds of protection. So the cows also should be given full protection. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. And we'll move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava. As Prabhupada chanted and introduced all the classes with this verse, or this bhajan. And then after that, we'll have the reading and discussion led by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who's in the mountains of Twain Heart, and serving Prabhupada without any adulteration, motivation, or self-aggrandizement. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jamuna Tira Nityananda Sri Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girivardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, one, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, two, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, three, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then four, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Kindly forgive me, I'm having some problem with my desktop audio. I'm just functioning with the cell phone. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few verses from the Adi Lila of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke Karye Chenayatma Sat 18 Charana Vandan Tire Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Rambe Karimangala Charana. Grantera Rambe Karimangala Charana. Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benediction. Tinirasmarani oi vigna vinashana. Anayase oi nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Srimangala-ācārya oi trivida prakar. Vastu nirdesha shiravada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Thanks everybody for participating in this reading and discussion. We will proceed with our reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, from the original, non-adulterated, non-interpolated, non-polluted version of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta.
Excuse me, Prabhu, we're getting some feedback. Could you turn the volume on your phone down?
On the phone, maybe it has to do that there's two systems here. Just hold on. Okay, I'm trying to see here. Audio is
now we
not
can't hear
working
you.
properly. So I'm functioning on the audio on the cell phone. Okay. So we are reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Adi Lila, chapter 5, text 121. Sahasrabadane kare Krishna gunagan, niravadi gunagan anta nahi pan. Chanting of the holy attributes of Krishna. Niravadi, continuously. Gunagan, chanting of the transcendental qualities. Anta nahi pan, does not reach the end. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. With his thousands of mouths, he sings the glories of Lord Krishna. But although he always sings in that way, he does not find an end to the qualities of the Lord. Are we still getting some feedback?
Yes.
Yes,
I don't know how to solve that problem here.
What we can do, Yaśodā, if I could humbly suggest, maybe Ram Raghava could do the reading and then you could speak. Figure out
Okay.
how to turn one of the volumes off. It's just feedback. Ram
Okay,
Raghava,
all right.
go ahead, please.
Okay.
Go ahead and read the verses.
Text 122.
Yeah.
Sanakadi Bhagavata Shune Yanra Mukhe Bhagavanera Guna Kahe Bhase Prema Sukhe. Sanaka Adi, the great sages headed by Sanaka, Sananda, etc. Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam. Shune, hear. Janra Mukhe, from whose mouth? Bhagavanera, of the personality of Godhead. Guna, attributes. Kahe, say. Bhase, float. Prema Sukhe, in the transcendental bliss of love of Godhead. Translation. The four Kumaras hear Srimad Bhagavatam from his lips, and they in turn repeat it in the transcendental bliss of love of Godhead. Text 123. Chhatra Paduka Shaya Upadhana Vasana Arama Avasa Jagya Sutra Singhasana. Chhatra, umbrella. Paduka, slippers. Shaya, bed. Upadhana, pillow. Vasana, garments. Arama, resting chair. Avasa, residence. Jagya Sutra, sacred thread. Singha Asana, throne. Translation. He serves Lord Krishna, assuming all the following forms: umbrella, slippers, bedding, pillow, garments, resting hair, residence, sacred thread, and throne. Please let me know when to stop. Text 124. Eta murti bhedakari Krishna seva kare Krishnera sheshata panya shesha nama dhare. Eta, so many. Murti bheda, different forms. Kari, taking. Krishna seva kare, serves Lord Krishna. Krishnera, of Lord Krishna. Sheshata, ultimate end. Panya, having reached. Sheshanama dhare, assumes the name Sheshanaga. Translation. He is thus called Lord Shesha, for he has attained the ultimate end of servitude to Krishna. He takes many forms for the service of Krishna, and thus he serves the Lord. Text 125. Seita ananta janra kahi ek kala, hena Prabhu Nityānanda ke jane tanra khela. Seita, that. Ananta, Lord Ananta. Janra, of whom. Kahi, I say. Eka kala, one part of the part. Hena, such. Prabhu Nityānanda, Lord Nityānanda Prabhu. Ke, who. Jane, knows. Tanra, his. Khela, pastimes. Translation. That person of whom Lord Ananta is a kala, or part of a plenary part, is Lord Nityānanda Prabhu, who, therefore, can know the pastimes of Lord Nityānanda. Text 126. E saba pramane jani Nityānanda tattva sima, tanha ke ananta kahi ki tanha manhima. E saba, all these. Pramane, by the evidences. Jani, I know. Nityānanda tattva sima, the limit of the truth of Lord Nityānanda. Tanha ke, to him, Lord Nityānanda, Balaram. Ananta, Lord Ananta. Kahi, if I say. Ki tanre mahima, what glory do I speak about him? Translation. From these conclusions, we can know the limit of the truth of Lord Nityānanda. But what glory is there in calling him Ananta? Text 127. Athava bhaktera vakyamani satyakari sakala sambhave tante yate avatari. Athava, otherwise, bhaktera vakya, anything spoken by a pure devotee. Mani, I accept. Satyakari, as truth. Sakala, everything. Sambhave, possible. Tante, in him. Jate, since. Avatari, the original source of all incarnations. Translation. But I accept it as the truth because it has been said by devotees. Since he is the source of all incarnations, everything is possible for him. Text 128. Avatar avatari abheda ye jane purve yai che Krishna ke ho kahe aho kari mane. Avatar avatari, an incarnation and the source of all incarnations. Abheda, identical. Ye jane, anyone who knows. Purve, formerly. Yaiche, just as. Krishna ke, unto Lord Krishna. Keho, somebody. Kaho, somewhere. Kari, making. Mane, accepts. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. They know that there is no difference between the incarnation and the source of all incarnations. Previously, Lord Krishna was regarded in the light of different principles by different people. Text 129. Keho kahe Krishna sakshat nara narayana. Keho kahe Krishna hai sakshat vamana. Synonyms. Keho kahe, someone says, Krishna, Lord Krishna, sakshat, directly, Nara Narayana, Lord Nara Narayan. Keho kahe, someone says, Krishna hai, Krishna is, sakshat Vamana, Lord Vamanadev. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Some said that Krishna was directly Lord Nara Narayan, and some called him Lord Vamanadev incarnate. Text 130. Keho kahe Krishna Kshirodashai avatar, asambhava nahe satya vachana sabar. Synonyms. Keho kahe, someone says, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Kshirodashai avatar, an incarnation of Lord Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. Asambhava nahe, there is not impossible. Satya, true. Vachana sabara, everyone's statement. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Some called Lord Krishna an incarnation of Lord Kshirodakashayi. All these names are true. Nothing is impossible.
Okay. Let's move forward. First of all, I just wanted to suggest Ram Raghava that someone's computer is doing a double exposure of the sound. It's on. So if we shut everybody off. Okay, is that working better? Okay, can you turn me on? There's some reverb that's going on. Okay, it seems to have stopped. No. Maybe it's, let me see. Yaśodā, go ahead. Let's see if we can get your voice working.
Can people hear me from my cell phone? Yes. But then on the desktop, the sound doesn't seem to be working properly. So let me turn this off and see how we're doing with the. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and there's no echo?
Nope, no echo this time.
Okay. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namah Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshatah Hadadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi punaha punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishtasat Karomi Swam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, this is another segment of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which shows the depth of this powerful transcendental literature. I wanted to address a point that has been raised this week by some devotees. There's an undercurrent of some Vaishnavas, as neophyte as they may be, who claim that both Vishwakarma and myself are always busy criticizing other devotees, and that this organization doesn't have much money, they're not doing anything, various levels of criticism, which we actually welcome. But I find it very interesting when we study the history of our sampradaya. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, the Sikh Goswamis, they live in very austere, poor conditions. They did not have much money or much assets. There is one lecture where Srila Prabhupada described that the Sikh Goswamis were the richest persons because they had developed complete transcendental love for Krishna. Now, we're not anywhere near the level of these exalted personalities, although we're trying to follow the process given by Srila Prabhupada. So whether an individual has money or no money, whether an organization has a lot of money or very little money or some money, that is irrelevant. What is relevant is to speak the truth, to live the truth, to live according to the instructions and the guidance of the authorized Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And this is very important to understand, because we see sometimes, Prabhupada describes in his books, how neophytes, Prabhupada used the word, are invariably envious. That is the condition of the neophyte condition. So one has to try to raise himself by hearing, submissively hearing, these transcendental literatures like Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the other books that Srila Prabhupada has given. This is how to come out of this miserable condition of envy, fault-finding, and basically very low-class mentality. Now, we appreciate and welcome anybody who may want to discuss anything, but we see that certain individuals have very deep misunderstanding of the fundamental philosophy that has been given by Srila Prabhupada. Let me give an example. When Srila Prabhupada went to Madras in 1970, they had arranged programs, and many local brahmanas came to see Srila Prabhupada, and they complained that many of the Western devotees were not acting very nicely, were not chanting Sanskrit properly, were not behaving like good trained-up brahmanas. And Prabhupada's reply, yes, that is why we have come to you. You can come and enlighten us. You can come and teach us. So join us. Of course, they didn't want to do that. So in other words, Srila Prabhupada was trying to engage everyone in the service of Krishna, in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the mission. The mission is all based on Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. One has to develop a taste for hearing, and then one can properly engage in Kirtanam, in preaching. Some people say, you people are not preaching. No, that is not accurate. These classes are preaching. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is Shravanam process. Reciting Srimad Bhagavatam is the Kirtananam process. So there is ongoing preaching. Distribution of literature is Sankirtan process. So a devotee should not be proud, regardless of their condition, of what they're doing. Because we see, just like the caste brahmanas in India have many misconceptions about what is a brahmana, what are the qualifications of a brahmana, how one can become a brahmana, and how one can lose his brahmanical position. It has nothing to do with birth or hereditary right. That is inaccurate. As a matter of fact, those of you who are familiar with Srila Prabhupada's teachings and his lectures, many times Prabhupada says, this has spoiled Vedic culture, this birthright Brahmanism. In the Skanda Purana, there's a description, Kalo Shudra Sambhava Samskarat Bhavid Dvijaha. One becomes a Dvija by proper samskara, because in the age of Kali Yuga, everyone is born as a Shudra. Well, how does one become a Brahmana? By taking shelter of a bona fide authorized Acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. This is very important because we see, I personally saw in Calcutta, how two Brahmanas from a Vaishnava Sampradaya came to attack Srila Prabhupada and criticize him for spoiling the Hindu religion, for initiating Westerners as Brahmanas, allowing women to do artik on the altar and so many things. And Prabhupada refuted all their nonsense claims. He quoted that verse, Kalo Shudra Sambhava. He quoted verses from the Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, from Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, but they were so obstinate that despite so much scriptural evidence, they refused to accept. Why? This is nicely described in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and which leads me to a little bit of a reading I want to have here from selected verses from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta itself. In other words, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explained how to understand the position of a Brahmana, how to understand the position of a Dvija, or twice born. I'm trying to find the quotes here. Here we go. This is from Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, text 200. Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya Lila, chapter 8, text 200. This is a very important instruction of Sanatana Goswami telling Lord Chaitanya, Mora mukhe vakta tumi aushruta, atantya rahasya shuna, sadanera kata. Actually, you are speaking through my mouth, and at the same time, you are listening. This is very mysterious. Anyway, kindly hear the explanation by which the goal can be attained. Purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami has advised us to hear about Krishna from a Vaishnava. He has explicitly forbidden us to hear from an Avaishnava. Avaishnava mukud giram, putam harikatam ritam, shravanam neva kartavyam, sarpochistam yatapayaha. Thus, quoting from Padma Purana, Srila Sanatana Goswami warns that one should not hear anything about Krishna from an Avaishnava, however great a mundane scholar he may be. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by an Avaishnava are also poisonous. However, because a Vaishnava is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his talks are spiritually potent. In the Bhagavad Gita 10:10, the Supreme Lord says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to worshiping me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. When a pure Vaishnava speaks, he speaks perfectly. How is this? His speech is managed by Krishna himself from within the heart. Srila Ramananda Roy accepted this benediction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he admits that whatever he was speaking was not derived from his own intelligence. Rather, everything was coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham riddhi sannivishto matasmritir jnanam apohanam cha vedeshta sarverahamiva vidyu vedanta krid veda videva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and am the knower of the Vedas. And all intelligence emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the super soul within the heart of everyone. Non-devotees want to ask the Supreme Lord for sense gratification. Therefore, non-devotees come under the influence of Maya, the illusory energy. A devotee, however, is directed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes under the influence of Yoga Maya. Consequently, there is a gulf of difference between statements made by a devotee and those made by a non-devotee. Now, what's important about this, because there's numerous statements in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta describing the same point that has been raised here. For example, in Antya Lila of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, chapter 5, text 71, Antya Lila, chapter 5, text 71, it is described in the purport. Prabhupada explains, one is forbidden to accept the guru or spiritual master as an ordinary man, ordinary being. Gurushu naramatihi. When Ramananda Rai spoke to Pradyumna Mishra could understand that Ramananda Rai was not an ordinary human being. A spiritually advanced person who acts with authority as the spiritual master speaks as the Supreme Personality of God dictates from within. Thus, it is not that he is personally speaking. When a pure devotee or spiritual master speaks, what he says should be accepted as having been directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Parampara system. This is a very important point, because we see, practically speaking, those who have developed a little bit of a taste for hearing about a pure devotee will understand this point properly. And those who engage in endless speculation and who think that the spiritual master is just an employee of their corporation, a worker for hire, they can never understand these very clear instructions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes. Very interesting point, Michael Dillon. And I want to apologize for our technical problems this evening. This goes on in life. There's always problems, but they've been rectified and we're carrying on. So thank you all for hanging in here. And I wanted to further elaborate on what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu was saying. I saw a YouTube reel. On YouTube, they have these short clips. They're under two minutes. And people put up different statements about things that they're thinking about. That's what they do. And it's quite addicting in a certain way. I watch them a little bit, and then I have to go, okay, that's it. You go through them fast. As soon as you see them, Ram Raghava, you go, okay, delete that, and you'll get to something that might have some value. So I saw this Christian guy on the reel, and he goes, the most sinister people, he's talking about people in Christianity, he says, are the religious leaders that distort the philosophy for their own personal benefits. I thought, geez. And you know, there's so many different churches and church leaders in Christianity. So you can go from one corner to the next corner. Here in Hamilton, we have a church down on Barton Street. It's called the Liberation Church. Okay. And the leader is Prophet Tom. Very interesting. Prophet Tom. I met him. I went down to the church and talked to him. He was kind of yelling, Jesus is this and Jesus is that, and you have to accept Jesus. I watched him carry on with his Jesus, Jesus. I watched him carry on. I just smiled at him. I go, okay, thank you very much. And I walked out. Prophet Tom. Not prophetic. Money-making Tom. So, here's the point, which I thought was very interesting, Ram Raghava, that this person was explaining to us in his reel how people in these roles use the philosophy to control people. Now, Yaśodā brought up an interesting point from Prabhupada's purport. A Vaishnava, do not hear words spoken from the lips of a serpent, of a Vaishnava, someone who's using the philosophy to control and manipulate people. Do I have that experience? Personally, I do. I do have that experience, my friend Michael. From Nityānanda, Keith Ham, used to come to Toronto and use the philosophy to manipulate all of us to do what he was doing, which was totally against Prabhupada's instructions. And we would follow it. It was terrible. And they used to attack me. They sent me a personal letter. A couple of devotees from New Vrindavan, and I still have the letter in my files from back then. And it's black and white. You are going to be doomed if you don't accept Keith Ham as a pure devotee. In black and white. Yeah, I have history. Not fabricated, it's black and white. I got the same thing in black and white from Gopal Krishna. Black and white misrepresentation of the philosophy to manipulate the members of the organization to do what they say. Think about it further, Ram Raghava. Just see how it's sinister this is. The words of a spiritual master, so-called bona fide spiritual master, are considered to be good as God speaking. Now, they use that tool to control the members of their group. Hey, if you don't do what he says, Mr. Pod, then guess what? You've committed hatimata. Oh, very, very sinister. Manipulation of the words of a spiritual leader to justify their deviant behavior. You know what I mean, Michael? Huh? Is it hard to understand what's gone on, Ron Singh? No, it's not. It's very easy to see it. And this Christian guy revealed it. And it was revealed again today in this explanation by Yaśodā-nandana, reading from the purports of Srila Prabhupada, that the words that are spoken by bogus Vaishnava people for manipulation of other people is the greatest sin that you can commit against humanity. I saw another video today. I sent it, maybe it was yesterday. I know time kind of flows along very quickly, doesn't it? And I saw a picture of a guru who's very physically disabled, terribly. Actually, it's hideous. And it's a direct result of accepting too many disciples. Oh yeah, no question. Like it's interesting, Mother Yachisha. There's a godbrother of ours, and he's in Europe. He's very successful in Ukraine and Russia and this and that. And recently, Ram Raghava, they made an announcement. They put up a post. Oh, this particular guru, his mind is so stressed right now that he can't talk to any of his disciples. Oh. He's so upset, Mr. Pure Devotee, that he cannot speak to anybody or give anybody, because he's too disturbed mentally. He has to be in total silence. So is this a pure devotee? This is manipulation. Blatant manipulation of people. He's a pure devotee. You have to do what he says, but now if you want to hear from him, just go listen to his classes. Oh, Mr. Vani Incarnation. Oh no, but don't accept these people that say that Prabhupada lives in sound. Go listen to him, Mr. Third Class Man, who's interpreting things according to his personal mental speculation in terms of his personal mental self-aggrandizement for his personal purposes. This conclusion, Ram Raghava, this whole thing is completely insane. This disease that's gone on and been going on for 55 years, at least that, has caused a huge, huge state of mass confusion, perfect Kali Yuga madness. That's what this is. And we have to be very careful, everybody. I'm just saying that. Keep good association with people, like-minded people that see things with a proper understanding of what is the Vani incarnation and how Prabhupada has given us these instructions to help us go through these troubled waters that are existing now everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not only in the mission that Prabhupada, it's in every group. Look at the governments. They're in troubled waters up in Canada here. It's totally crazy. It's really confusing. They have a guy here that was made prime minister that wasn't voted in. Wasn't an elected official. And now he's become the prime minister. Democracy or demon crazy? What is it? Is it democracy, or Prabhupada called it demon crazy? And there's so much misinformation, disinformation in America that so many people are confused. Look what they're going around. They're upset with a guy who created electric cars, and they're going around burning the dealerships down in protest. They're going in. People have bought the cars, and then the other people go and scratch all the finishes in a $100,000 car. They're going, oh, you bought that car, let me scratch your car and ruin it. Does that sound very sane to you, Ram Raghava? Everybody's eating all kinds of dead animals. They're fighting amongst themselves about everything that there is, this and that and the other thing. And this is the Kali Yuga, the iron age of quarrel and hypocrisy. And Prabhu, you're right in the middle of it. That's what you are. You're in the boiling pot of total madness. And what we're seeing it also, I'm sorry to say this, in Prabhupada's movement, sadly, oh yeah, And they're using the same tools that these Christians see people doing, taking power and manipulating the people by misinformation. Is this logical? Yes, it is. It's funny. I want to speak to our God brothers. I tell them, call me up. Nobody will call. Go ahead. Call us. Let's talk. Let's try to resolve differences. Let's try to work together. We'd love it. We are looking for people to work together with us who are loyal to Prabhupada's mission in his Vani incarnation. Aaron Singh, loyal. Words are cheap. I've been around a lot of people, Ram? We all have. And people talk. That's all they do. They don't back it up with any action. It's all superficial madness. This is the Kali Yuga, and this is the rich situation that we are currently in. And we are going to stick together and be loyal and fight this honorable battle to protect Prabhupada's legacy. Michael Dillon, in his Vani incarnation, which is, he is still living in sound, and his followers live with him. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yaśodā-nanda is going to review now this unauthorized biography. And this is the title of it. The Unauthorized Biography of Srila Prabhupada, a review of it, also known as the Lilamrita. And this is a very important book that we'll be releasing in the near future this year to expose the hypocrisy of manipulation by misinformation. Manipulation by misinformation. It is hypocritical. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Well, thank you for this introduction, but I think it's something that's very important because many devotees have become very confused by the worldwide propaganda of what we call the deep state, which is based on misinformation, fabrication, and prevarication, lies. The Lilamrita review stresses and aims to straighten out the falsehoods that have been written in the so-called Lilamrita. And as we do every week, we will read a few passages from it. We are in section number 2 of the Lilamrita review on page number 8. Prabhupada explains on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 19, but action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engaged in all kinds of activities, but is completely unattached. Now, this specific purport is in connection with statements from Lilamrita on book number 1, page 283, where it says, quote, I would ask him, Swamiji, did you have any good contacts? He would say, not much today. I didn't get much and it is depressing. Tomorrow, Krishna will give me more details. In the Science of Self-Realization on page 283, it is described, I do not know whether I shall be a success or failure. It does not matter. My duty is completed if I can present before you what I have heard from my spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, the fear of a pure devotee, the difference between mundane fear and transcendental fear. One may raise a legitimate question here. Srila Prabhupada once said that he himself had anxiety about retaining the land in Juhu Beach near Bombay, India. He said that kind of anxiety was bhakti yoga. He compared it to the gopis being in anxiety when they considered that Krishna's soft feet were walking over the hard stones. In such anxiety, they fainted. Srila Prabhupada's anxiety about this movement is also verified in his own purport in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're referring to Canto number 10, chapter number 3, text number 22. As Kamsa was not expected to kill the beautiful child of Devaki and Vasudeva, the uncivilized society, although unhappy about the advancement of the Krishna consciousness movement, cannot be expected to stop it. Yet, we must face many difficulties in many ways. Although Krishna cannot be killed, Vasudeva, as the father of Krishna, was trembling because in affection he thought that Kamsa would immediately come and kill his son. Similarly, although the Krishna consciousness movement and Krishna are non-different and no asuras can check it, we are afraid that at any moment, the asuras can stop this movement in any part of the world. Srila Prabhupada comparing himself to Vasudeva is significant. A careful study of this purport reveals that we cannot begin to understand the nature of Srila Prabhupada's transcendental fear any more that we can understand Vasudeva's trembling. It is transcendental rasa. Srila Prabhupada is fully aware that Krishna can protect himself as well as his own movement. Srila Prabhupada sees personally how Krishna is controlling the universes, as did Vasudeva and Devaki. Srila Prabhupada's being afraid has nothing to do whatsoever with the fear of this material world to which a conditioned soul is repeatedly subjected. Back to you in the studio. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
It's interesting to note, everyone, how this is constructed by them. In other words, they're starting with a misquote. In other words, they're claiming Prabhupada said something, but he actually didn't say it. It's the old Shyamasundar Prabhu in Australia. The old Syndrome Prabhu, Prabhupada said, but he didn't actually said, but they're saying he said it. And then they're misrepresenting the whole thing and showing Prabhupada to just be an ordinary person. Very insidious. And something that we have to be aware of. So this book, the unauthorized biography, a review of it, of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, unauthorized, Prabhupada never authorized it, is going to be a very important release by our group to help set the record straight of what is the facts about Srila Prabhupada living in sound in his Vani incarnation. Is very important. Ron Singh, are you able to get to a microphone or are you driving in your car?
I'm available, yes.
Go ahead, please, if you could further comment. We'll get to everybody.
Okay, sounds good. So Srila Prabhupada, being empowered by Krishna himself, we as disciples or students of Srila Prabhupada, we should directly hear from Srila Prabhupada. We should make it a very, it should be part of our devotional service that we hear from Srila Prabhupada. And if we don't hear from Srila Prabhupada directly, and if we hear from these so-called gurus who were not authorized to represent Srila Prabhupada, we become confused. And they started a worldwide movement to change Srila Prabhupada's books, to change the management system. On these two bases, they have basically hijacked the movement. And this is apparent now because many of these things that is going on, Srila Prabhupada predicted himself. Don't change my books.
Yeah.
He said so many things he said. So these leaders, they purposefully change all these things, and now people are confused. So one of our responsibilities is to present Srila Prabhupada as he is, as the Founder-Ācārya, liberated soul, Uttama Adhikari, living in sound vibration. So if people are complaining about, is the sound good or is it breaking up?
No, it's fine. Carry on.
If people are complaining, that must mean that, we have some potency in that, because they're saying that, oh, people are getting the right answers. People are understanding these things. So I'm not personally worried about these people who are complaining myself, because we know what is right and we know what is wrong.
Okay. You're right. We're only discussing it. Tim Lee, Paranjana, maybe you could share some insights, and then we'll move to Nilesh Dal.
Hi, Ba.
Guy, Haribo.
Yeah, they were just one thing after another. After 1978, I mean, I was criticizing Jaya-tirtha, and they couldn't defeat me. I was meeting with 4 of the big leaders, and I said, Jaya-tirtha's having an affair, and he's taking drugs, and he's out of it, and he's yelling and screaming on the Vyasa-san, so he's obviously intoxicated. They said, yeah, you're right. But Prabhu, he's living. That's what they told me. He's living. So that's all the qualification you need is to be living. Are you kidding me? And then it just went from bad to worse. And they made the Mahajans of Difficulty paper in 1980, where they said the Mahajans are in Maya. Okay, well, if the Mahajans are in Maya, then how are we ever going to get out of Maya? I mean, there's no standard anymore. Everybody's in Maya. The Mahajans are in Maya, you're in Maya, then everything's Maya. So this was just, and then the Lilamrita was just another component of that. They just made so many. But Sridhar was their advisor, and he was saying, gurus go crazy, gurus fall down, gurus need to be voted in. I mean, he came up with all these ideas, and they put in that in their documents. A lot of the documents are 78, 79, 80 were ghost written by Sridhar. They were just copies of conversations they had with Sridhar. And then Narayan became Satsvarup's advisor on writing the Guru Reform Notebook. We might have noted that in the Guru Reform Notebook, Satsvarup mentions the name. He says, I have been consulting heavily with Narayan Maharaj to write this publication. So the Guru needs to be reformed. This was another, nutcase idea that, because they were just trying to justify everything. And then they said the real Jaya-tirtha is, serving Krishna nicely, and this is the Maya Jaya-tirtha, and oh my God, so it just went on and on and on, because they had no good explanation for how acharyas or pure devotees or Mahajans or anything have all these difficulties. But the problem is, if they have difficulties, we're going to have we're not going to get out of our difficulties, because there won't be any light at the end of the tunnel. It'll just be a constant, well, the higher you get, the harder you fall. And it's like that myth of Sisyphus, this guy's rolling a rock up the hill, and then he gets almost at the top, and it rolls down again, and there's no way to you're never going to get to the top, because there is no top. There is no standard for being a pure devotee. So this is very insidious, very insidious. But yeah, we have to expose that. That is definitely not Prabhupada's idea. There is a standard. We can, even if we can't attain the standard, at least if Prabhupada says, even theoretically you know the standard, then you're going to get a lot of appreciation from Krishna, even if you can't follow, but you appreciate the higher standard. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, yeah, you're right. We just keep going forward and preach the philosophy of Vani incarnation over Vapu, and hope that we get the attention of Krishna in our efforts to please our spiritual master. Nilesh Dal in Dalal in Florida, somewhere.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Very interesting conversations over here.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I just wanted to share something which happened this Sunday. We were in Miami, on Miami ISKCON, and there was this Mataji who was giving a class. And incidentally,
What was her name? What was her name?
I don't remember her name. I don't remember her name. I can.
Can I just ask? I'm just asking. Was she a Prabhupada disciple or a
No,
Gaudiya
no, 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 no.
disciple
No, no,
or a
no, no.
neophyte? Go ahead.
No, no, no. None of them. In fact, it was interesting is that she claimed herself to be an author of 4 books.
Oh,
And interestingly is that she had 3 gurus. She was initiated first with Bhavananda, then some other guru. and then-
Bhavananda. Did you say
Yes.
Bhavananda? Okay,
Yes.
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, keep
And
going.
then second one was some other one who also had a fall down, and then she got reinitiated by the 3rd guru. And these are the books which, I mean, these are the people who are writing books and call themselves Vaishnavas.
Okay.
So, we need to stop addressing ISKCON or any other institution, for that matter, to be Prabhupada's institution. That is no longer Prabhupada's institution. They do not follow Prabhupada's original books. They do not follow Prabhupada's teachings. They do not follow Prabhupada's mandates for what you call memorandum of management. They do not follow the devotional services principles of that. So they're not Prabhupada institutions anymore. It is institutions like these, like the Prabhupada Disciples Association, who is so firmly trying to adhere to all of Prabhupada's original teachings, the original diktats, just like how Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is constantly reminding us, constantly telling us how we need to follow Prabhupada's instructions to the dot, crossing our T's, dotting our I's. And so if you want to reach the final destination, that is, go back home, back to Godhead, this is the process. But otherwise, you're going to be initiated by people who are writing books, who have been initiated, who don't even know who to catch as a proper spiritual master. So the decision is the individual soul, what they want to do, how they want to go about it, but understand what is happening where. That's all. I would love to know what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say about this.
I don't see him on the set. We've had some technical problems this evening with his sound. So, Yaśodā, are you there? I don't see him on the broadcast. Ram Raghava, can you, any questions from the YouTube channel or any other comments from you, please?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Yes, there are 10 people watching on YouTube, following on YouTube. No questions today. I did have a question. One question that comes up is if you could comment on, there are some obvious typographical errors in Srila Prabhupada's books. So what does Srila Prabhupada say about typographical errors? And also, what is, if you could elaborate on the etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette called Arsha Prayog?
Okay, I'll give a first comment. The Delhi Bhagavatams, for example, which have a lot of errors in them, punctuation, spelling, like that. There's no philosophical error, but there are, grammatical errors in the book. So Prabhupada did want the books to be edited under his supervision. And it went on that way. Because he wanted the books to be presented into the academic communities as legitimate works of knowledge, authentic knowledge from the Vedic teachings, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita especially, like that. So this editing process under his guidance was sanctioned by him. And those books can be read by us without any trouble. And there's a history to that. You have to study it and see it. Now, in our particular case, we study from the Bhagavatams, the Delhi Bhagavatams, on our Bhagavatam class. Now, we only had those books when we joined the movement. That was all that we had. In 1971, the only books that we had were those books. And despite the fact that there were some grammatical errors, the essence of the philosophy was perfect. It was perfect. And actually, for many of us, we love those the most because they show the authenticity of Srila Prabhupada in his efforts to preach Krishna consciousness with determination and no regard for anything else but the truth of the matter. It's the truth we're looking at. So changes were made, edits were made up to a certain point, and then Prabhupada wanted us to not change anything anymore because he saw that his neophyte disciples were going way off in the twilight zone, pretending to be great scholars in this matter. So this is a history. Okay, it is a history. And I deal with a friend of ours, Abhimanyu, who has a whole adventure that he's on. He got these letters from Hansaduta before his death. Actually, I've been involved in the whole thing. And I introduced him to Jidharati and then to Hansaduta, and then he got these letters and he became the trustee, and he's, for the last 4 years, done extensive research on the copyright laws, the trust laws. And recently he got a letter from Washington, Ram Raghav. I haven't told anybody this, I keep it quiet. But he has the authorized copyrights for the Bhagavad Gita from Washington in writing now. Not these other groups that are claiming copyright privileges. There's one thing about copyright, and I'm not going to talk about it today, Nilesh, it's complicated, but the principle of copyright is this. You submit a version of the book to the Copyright Office, and it's authorized. Now, when you change the book, you have to get it re-copyrighted. You have to do it again. In other words, they're saying that version that was that is become this now, and therefore you have to re-register it as the new version. How many times have they changed the books and never gone to the Copyright Office and verified that this was the authentic copyright version now? It's not been done for years. This whole copyright business is completely a fiasco. So total manipulation of Prabhupada's assets for the personal ambition of the people who are taking possession of these very valuable assets, brother. Like this Prabhu in LA, Swavas. I don't know much about his life, but I know he's a rich man. Yes. How do you become rich in Krishna consciousness when you're a humble servant of the pure devotee? It's like these politicians. Huh? Nancy Pelosi. She starts out as working on a salary with the government. And now she's worth $100 million. What the heck is that? We have a guy, Trudeau, up here. Trud, I call him. He started out with a couple of million. Now his net worth is $95 million. How the heck did you do that? Well, I can tell you how you did it. You cheated everybody. How do these people become super rich when they're supposed to have vows of poverty? Excuse me? This is blatant hypocrisy in the Kali Yuga. Blatant. And people are naive to think, oh, well, there's a pure devotee, let's wash his feet. I just saw this guy in Mayapur riding in this super expensive bus, hundreds of thousands of dollars customized bus. They wheel him around. He's got tubes coming out of him. His face is all distorted. He can barely speak. And they're washing his feet with all kinds of elaborate solutions. I don't know what to say. I already said it. And this is the reality. This is the reality of the Kali Yuga. And it's a sad state of affairs. And we're going to carry on to propagate the Krishna Consciousness movement according to, and very exciting work. And Krishna keeps on giving me more work. I just had to speak to Yaśodā today, and I've got to write some more. So writing is very hard, especially if you're not very competent. But I pray to Krishna that he'll empower all of us to step up and make a difference in preserving Prabhupada's legacy in his authorized books and in his letters and his instructions to us, and the strength that he gives us to chant our rounds every day. And I'm going to conclude with this. I recently was in Mexico, okay? And I was there for an entire month. And I saw my godbrother Gopal go from bad to worse to death. And I did what I could. He drank the Ganges water. He had the Vrindavan dust put on him when his body was just there and the spirit soul was gone. And we chanted for him. We read from Easy Journey to Other Planets. When I first got there, I started reading it to him. It was very relevant because he seemed to be a yogi from the past. But was he grabbing his bead bag? Was he? No, he had his phone. He'd grab his phone. I'd see him in the morning. I get mad at him. What the hell are you doing? Looking at your stupid phone, man. I tell him off because I care about the guy. I really felt for him, and I was worried. But I realized one thing, Ram Raghava, one very important thing, that if you don't practice Krishna consciousness diligently every day, are you going to be able to do it when you're ready to die? No, it's not automatic. You keep practicing. Like, for example, our process is to get up and at least we do this. Yaśodā has a complicated morning program that he does, but my program is I get up, I get my beads, I pay my obeisances to my deities, and I start my rounds. And I chant my rounds every day. These days I chant. Today I chanted 19 rounds. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But I chanted them. Okay, good rounds? Oh, I don't know. I did them. But I'm practicing. And as I keep going, I'm going to realize that when I get close to the end, I'm going to be chanting with more intensity. Because I'm practicing every day to do it. What did Maharaj Parikshit do when he was ready to die? What did he do? He went 7 days and focused on hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what we do. We practice, we practice, we practice, and then we'll get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Is that all right, Michael? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're going to move forward with the 2 minutes and 54-second chanting of Srila Prabhupada leading kirtan, and after that we'll say our Vancha Kalpas and we'll chant along with the devotees from Jamaica. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the assembled devotees of the Lord, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha, Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like the desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. So we want to invite you on Saturday morning for Srimad Bhagavad Gita class and Sunday for Srimad Bhagavatam class, and march on to keep chanting your rounds, offering your food, having your prasadam, study the books, and be happy in Krishna consciousness. These are the principles of freedom for all of us. Let's chant along with the devotees from Jamaica, the Hare Krishna mantra in 16ths. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Chant along, see if you can do it. In 16ths. It's a rap japa.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.